Hey friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, a copyrighted edition for our video channel, and this is Huck TV. Yes, she is the executive producer, and she's right there monitoring the show, and she will be here with us, granting us the pleasure of her companionship. And yes, Huck is fastidious. She's a dog, and when we start talking about dogs, you know what that means. So, Huck, look at the side eye. Do you see the side eye there? Yeah. She's a good girl. She's a really good girl. She's been a super good girl. Oh, double scratch down below and up high. Yeah, she's a good girl. Dad's a good girl, yeah. Just keep scratching, Dad. Yeah. You're a good girl. She's pretty demanding, but I love her. She's a keeper. All right, so we're going to get into the meat of the program, and there's a lot of things we got to talk about today. A lot. First of all, thanks for being here. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'm blessed that you are here. Viewership is down 60% over the past year, while subscribers are way up. No, it makes no sense at all, folks. None. The number of comments we get per video, pretty much the same. Which means to me, something's amiss. Something is greatly wrong. By having our viewership drop by 50%, that means our income from YouTube has dropped 50%. A huge blow. Huge. Not sustainable. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not. And I've been working with somebody who's way smarter than me to come up with something to essentially balance off our loss of income. We're going to try something new today. This is going to be an extensive video, a long one. And rather than doing a half-hour video, we're going to start trying to do a 1-hour video every 2 days instead of every other day. First of all, it'll be less work for me. And while we get this next platform up and going, we're going to see how this works. Now, I'm not going to leave YouTube altogether, even when this new platform goes up. No. We'll continue to upload at some rate. But what we're going to do is probably twice a month, every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, one of those two. We're going to go to a location similar to Zoom. And it's going to be a pay-per-view. And I'm working with these guys, like I said, way smarter than me. And they're trying to find that comfort zone. This will be between a 90-minute and 2-hour video that or live. It'll be a live event where you can come on and we can interact. You can ask questions, etc. And then I'll talk for probably 45 minutes about something really special that I have never talked about here before. And we're trying to find that point of cost for somewhere between 60 minutes and 2 hours. It'll probably be $2.50 to $6. That's going to be the comfort zone to watch. We haven't decided on the price yet. We're just trying to figure all this stuff out. I am not the expert. I'm not going to set the price. I'm going to let somebody else way smarter than me to do it. The important thing is I get as many of you to come over and watch. As an example, if I got 50,000 people at $1 to watch, that would be great. But the problem is we don't even get 50,000 people watching on YouTube. That's the problem. So we've got a huge issue. I'm going to lay out some huge expense to get these people on board working for us, and we're going to try to see if we can make this work. It's more important to me that I get as many of you coming over. I know that I think it's 60% of you are paying between $10 and $17.50 per month for YouTube Premium. I don't know how much you're willing to pay for me for a special once or twice a month. We'll find out. Again, YouTube has destroyed the channel. Every week I hear hundreds of times, I can't give you a thumbs up, Dave, because it's not even there. Or I give you a thumbs up and I come back an hour later and there's no credit for me giving you a thumbs up, or people are forcibly unsubscribed, or people are never notified about a video. It goes on and on and on. And I'm not a bellyachre. I'm trying to keep you informed as the decision making behind the scenes about where we're going with this. Now, the case today. Out of all the cases I've ever done, this is in the top 1%. This is an incident that you've never heard about. And nobody out there in the YouTube world has ever talked about. And nobody on the internet that I can tell has ever written about it. And it was a complete fluke that myself and the other researchers even found this case. Sometimes when we're out there looking and even just like fishing for cases, we stumble across a gem. I don't consider these cases gems. I consider them extremely, extremely devastating events to a family. This case took us a couple days to put together because it was so complex. And that's the reason that this is going to be one of those extended versions. So we'll get into that in a minute. Now, first of all, somebody out there sent me a little floaty of a Bigfoot floating on a dinosaur. But they didn't leave anything inside the package to say thank you, but thank you. I appreciate it. It was -1 this morning, but when it gets warmer, we'll be using that out on the lake. Person sent me a letter, and it's intriguing as all heck. I know some of you hate the letters. This is only just one letter I'm going to read to you. Just hold your taters and listen. An unusual experience in Turkey. I had a very unusual experience while stationed in the country of Turkey. I was located on top of Mount Malatya, about 8,500 foot in elevation. For 1 year I was there. I was in the U.S. Air Force, 18 years old, operating a power plant supporting microwave communication relay station. The tour was isolated and remote, had about 20 military personnel rotating every year. Very isolated area overlooking the Euphrates River Valley. We could see hundreds of miles east from our promenades. I have happened to climb Mount Nimret Dag around October 6th of 70. It was the burial site of Antiochus II, a powerful king of Alexander the Great and King Darius' descent, claiming both Persian and Greek ancestry. I climbed atop one of the many tall stone statues and sat where the head where the head once was, getting my photo there. A short while later, back at my troposphere communication military site, I had a very strange encounter. And this is basically what happened. I prayed fervently one night for help from God to somehow keep enduring the depressing experience atop of the mountain. After ending the prayer, a minute later, I received what I can only describe as a telepathic message. It stated, quote, "Come into the darkness where I can see you," end of quotes. And that message remained urging me to do just that. The next evening after dark, I climbed down below the lights of our base camp, about 200 yards, just below the lights and into the darkness as instructed. It was a very clear night facing north. I could clearly view the Milky Way. As I gazed upward, silent into the sky, my body was penetrated by an energy source. I was absolutely held in fright, and I could feel that I was being probed completely through my body. Within seconds, I turned as fast as I could and scampered into the darkness, got back into the light of the camp, and into my barracks to then sleep. During my adult life, my strange spiritual things have occurred. Visions so clear that they were not dreams, visions of things which came true shortly thereafter. At times, strangers have come up to me and expressed that they see a glow about me. Many more times I have prayed for and received my requests. It is a very scary and intimidating feeling. And I seldom pray for anything now, realizing that this power, or whatever it is I have, is real, authentic, and spiritual. I'm a former police officer in Florida, served 4 years active duty in the Air Force, have a college degree, worked for IBM, and I'm a retired federal civil service, administrative supervisor, outreach coordinator for the Department of Veteran Health Administration. I am very credible. It is a spiritual counter that I experienced. I am unable to fully comprehend or explain what in fact has happened to me. I'm not going to read you this man's name, but I will tell you I've had similar experiences after Ben's death. That's a fact. And it was from praying. Not praying to have Ben back, just praying. I remember one night on Coast to Coast with George Norrie. I was going to be on that night. I'm sitting on the phone waiting to go on. And as you're sitting on the phone, you can hear him talking about other things before you come on. And he had a friend that had some serious cancer. And he said, hey, if all of the audience would just pray for this man, it would help. I had millions of people listening. A couple days later, George came on and said, you know, miraculously, the man's cancer is now in remission. Say what you want. Say what you want. You can dismiss it if you want. You can be a believer if you want. I'm just telling you what happened. Something happened about a woman in a river. And I'm going to read you a couple news articles. New Jersey 101.5. Police are calling the reappearance of a New Jersey woman in Tennessee a miracle after fearing she had fallen into a river. Alexandria Chamil, 33, of Old Bridge, New Jersey, became separated from a friend early Thursday while walking near the Cumberland River near the Tennessee Titans Stadium. Helicopters, a drone, climbers were used to search the bush along the riverbank. Found nothing. Surveillance pictures showed Chamil walking near the river. Police found her shoes on the sidewalk with drops of blood, according to a Nashville TV station. There was additional concern because a University of Missouri student went missing in March in the same area and drowned in the same area after drinking multiple alcoholic beverages. WMSV reported that Chamil called her mother while she was missing. Her mother called police and was able to help police ping Chamil's phone to the riverbank area. As police searched the area of the ping, Chamil was spotted, quote-unquote, emerging from the riverbank, according to police. Police investigators told CBS 42 that she had scratches and cuts all over her body. Police believe she was in the river at one point. A photo was posted of Chamil standing barefoot and talking to police. Nashville Police Sergeant Bob Nielsen said to WMSV, it was a miracle she was found. Police told New Jersey 101.5 that her disappearance is not considered suspicious and there are no charges pending. Next article, the Tennessean, 7/25/24. Nashville police found a New Jersey woman alive after she got separated from her friend on Lower Broadway, kicking off an early morning search for her. Officers focused their search on 33-year-old Alexandria Chamil around Cumberland River at 1st Avenue North and Woodland Street. Chamil, around 9 a.m., walked up to the area where police were staged for the search. Chamil became separated from her friend at 3rd and Broadway Thursday night. She was reported missing before 3:45 a.m. Still photographs of the video surveillance of her show her walking across a crosswalk along. She's wearing jeans and a black top, and she appears to be carrying a purse in one hand and shoes in the other. In another photo, she's passing a lone pickup truck parked along 1st Avenue. Riley Strain, 22, went missing in March after he was kicked out of a Broadway bar. 2 weeks later, his body was found in the Cumberland River. The Davidson County medical examiner ruled his death accidental and noted in his autopsy that he had nearly 3 times the legal limit of alcohol. Nashville, Tennessee. Missing tourist found alive disappearing in Nashville, July 25th, 2024. A tourist who reported as missing has been found alive after disappearing in Nashville. Metro Police shared Thursday morning that they were searching for 33-year-old Alexandria Chamil, who was visiting from New Jersey. Metro Nashville PD stated Chamil was reported missing after 3:42 a.m. after being separated from her friend in a downtown area. Separation. Police say a search was launched in the area, and shortly after 9 a.m., the department shared a social media that Chamil had, quote, emerged from the riverbank, end of quotes, and was speaking with their investigative team. Nashville police were referring to the riverbank in the Cumberland River is where a Missouri student Riley Strain's body was located. Media outlets have reported that Chamil told police that she did not know how she ended up in the river. Metro Nashville police had not confirmed any other details of this event. Wow. No memory, just like every other case. No memory of how they got in. Point of separation. Where was she? They said she was wet. She had been in the river. What is going on? What is going on? Okay. Onto this event. Top 1% video, friends. If this one doesn't get you going, nothing will. Person's name was Michael Hudson, 3 years old. And I've got 3 different pictures of Michael for you to look at. Half Chinese, half Caucasian. His mom was Chinese. His parents are Lily and Stephen Hudson. He went missing July 26, 1973, between 6 and 6:15 p.m. Family lived in a community called Helena, California, and had a cabin in Barney Gulch in Trinity County. The area where this happened is just west of Shasta Dam and east of the Pacific Ocean. It's just a couple miles west of Trinity Lake and at the foot of the Trinity Alps at an elevation of about 1,900 feet. So here's Redding, California. This is I-5 that goes all the way from LA to the Canadian border. This is 299 that takes you up, and then you go a little bit north to Weaverville. This is where the family lived in Helena, and they had a cabin in Barney Gulch. This is the Trinity Alps wilderness area up here. Remote doesn't even begin to explain this. Out of all of the areas in California, I would rank the Trinity Alps as some of the remote, most remote of any area in the state. I've been in there, freaky as all heck. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. So, the family is at their cabin. And Stephen, the husband, well, first of all, before I get ahead of that, Barney Gulch, where this is, it's a little gulch that flows into the Trinity River. In July of 73, this time of year, it had very little water in it, almost none. The Hudson's cabin sits at the end of a dead-end spur road. No, there's no traffic that comes back there. Dirt road. Somebody came up there, it'd be a cloud of dust. The Hudson cabin needed some work. So Stephen went up there and was nailing up a pole with the assistance of a neighbor. And they had just left Michael and their pet German Shepherd dog, Barney, in the front yard playing together. And the dog and Michael were inseparable for the family, always together. Always playing with each other, one looking after the other. So Stephen goes up and he says that he has this pole, a neighbor's helping him, steps around the corner from where Michael is in the front yard, and he pounds in 3 nails. And he says, now the time it takes to pound in 3 nails, 3 to 5 minutes, he goes back to the front, and Michael and the dog are gone. Barney gone. And Stephen wasn't the kind of guy to not take things seriously. He immediately walked out to the dirt road and walked down to look at 150 yards down the road where the road hits one of the other roads that kind of connects the community of North Fork down near the river. Now the river's not down there 150 yards, just this other road. And you look down there and there's nothing. There's no dust in the air. There's no sun. There's no dog. There's nothing. Comes back, and he and the neighbor and Lily, his wife, start searching. Now, remember, their cabin is way out there in the middle of Nowheresville. Stephen hadn't heard his son make any noise. The dog would bark if somebody came in the yard. No bark. No nothing. So they're searching. About 15 minutes after they start searching, Barney, the dog, comes running back into the yard. And Stephen said that it had bristles and burrs all over its hair, which it never had before. The dog ran right past him, went to a water bowl, and drank heavily. And then the dog did something it never does. It went in the house, laid down, and wouldn't move. And it wouldn't come out. Knowing a little bit about dogs, having had a dog my whole life, I call that behavior very odd, considering its best friend is now gone, which was Michael. So did that behavior mean it was afraid of something out there? I don't know, but I don't like it. So Lily, the friend, and Stephen search for another hour, and at about 8 o'clock, 2 friends that they have nearby drive 3 miles to the nearest phone. That's how far out these people are. And they call the Trinity County Sheriffs. 30 to 45 minutes later, deputies start arriving. Now you gotta expect that in a rural county like Trinity in '73, they don't have a lot of experience dealing with missing people, specifically missing 3-year-olds. That's a rare event. And I could probably say safely that the first deputies at the scene thought that this would be over within an hour. They'd find the boys down the hill playing around, whatever. Well, the deputies arrive, and Stephen explained that Michael had never walked away before. He was also adamant that Michael and Barney had always stayed together, and the dog had never left him. Now, for proximity's sake, the cabin's about 20 miles from Weaverville. It's the closest decent-sized town. Now, the Hudsons knew the neighbors, and the deputies, first thing they did is they went down the road and they contacted every neighbor in that area. And they want to see, hey, maybe Michael walked into the yard, maybe they've seen Michael, etc. And then the other thing they were dealing with is, every article said this, that it was one of the hottest times ever in this part of the mountains. It was over 100 degrees every day. And at night, it didn't cool off that much. So that was good and bad. Michael wasn't going to live a long time without water in that kind of heat. But then again, he wasn't going to freeze to death at night because It wasn't that cold. Now the deputies asked the family, well, what was Michael wearing? Well, he was wearing blue shorts and a red and white striped shirt. Whoa. You should be able to see that shirt through the woods real careful. That's pretty bright. So the deputies do their cursory search. They contact neighbors. They were almost out of light and very few resources. They had almost every deputy in the county there. They had 4 of them. One of the deputies made a call to the Forest Service for assistance the next day. Then they called for helicopter assistance. Then they called for search and rescue teams to start converging. And then, I couldn't believe this when I read it, but it had to be true. The 4 deputies stayed at that house until the next morning, searching the area, looking for Michael. That, my friends, is commitment. That says something about this Trinity County Sheriff's. Now, the first full day of searching was July 27th. And a place called the Big Bar Ranger Station of the U.S. Forest Service sent 21 men to help with the search and rescue. That was essentially everybody in that office. They pulled off all of their assignments and sent them. And then the Trinity County Sheriffs had their dispatch call for bloodhounds from Redding, and they got them, multiple teams. And they arrived the midday on the 27th. And then the 4 Trinity County deputies stayed on until noon that day, and then finally had to go home and get some sleep. The return was that all in all, the search for Michael in that road, in that area, nobody had seen him walking down the road. There were rumors that there was a suspicious car that was driving up the road and somebody heard a car, and turned out that that was somebody on the road that had a relative come up to see him. Nothing unusual. But the point was that that neighborhood knew everyone that was coming up the road, which is important. They're all kind of looking out for each other. So at the end of that first day, they've got nothing. July 28th and 29th, it was a Saturday and a Sunday. And the sheriffs had met with multiple press during the day and had publicized the event saying, hey, they need searchers and they need people. And you got to remember that the size of this county is minute, really small. And it's so isolated. It's between the Pacific Coast and Redding. Neither place is an easy drive, I'm telling you. Well, they did receive volunteers on that Saturday-Sunday event. They described the area that was being searched to the press as extremely steep, rugged, and dry. And very hot. They also described stream flows in that area, the creek behind the house, almost dry. The Trinity River was running very low. So, search and rescue teams arrived that day from Shasta County, Humboldt County, and Trinity counties. And then unbelievably, they got a helicopter from the Presidio in San Francisco to fly north and help them. And then they got a U.S. Coast Guard ground team from Eureka to come over and help. That's huge. Now, at about that time, the press took this picture of Mr. and Mrs. Hudson. That was Steve and Lily looking at a picture of their son, Michael. I can't even begin, as I've stated many times, the devastation that goes through your heart. So, one more time. This is Trinity Lake right here. The Trinity Alps Wilderness starts right here. This is Barney Gulch. This is Weaverville. This is Lewiston, another decent-sized town. And then you have to travel through mountain roads to get to Reading. But I can tell you that this area up in here, I've spent time there, but I don't like spending a lot of time there. Sorry, I move on quick. So, the weekend goes, nothing's found. July 30th, 200 searchers. The dad told the press that Michael would never run away. He says he's always in the front yard of that house, their cabin, playing with Barney in the front yard. He wouldn't leave. But again, no barks, no yells, no screams, no sounds. Neighbors Rich Schneider and Maud Walsh had said that they had helped with the original search, and then they were the ones that left to call the deputies when questioned. Everybody agreed that the days were scorching, 100 degrees, and there was no relief from the heat. July 31st, the sheriff stated that Barney Gulch is a mere trickle right now. Nobody's going to drown in the creek. But they had walked the creek. They had walked the river. The river was 5.5 miles from the house. And they said that they not only walked Barney Gulch, they went through and they took down things that they thought maybe looked suspicious. They grid mapped the area and did it again, trying to figure out what they missed and what they didn't. They were getting frustrated. Sheriff Tom Kelly was on scene of Trinity County, interviewed by the press. And he said any rumors of foul play should immediately be dismissed. He stated that his deputies had investigated all sorts of allegations and nothing in his mind points to kidnapping. That was the sheriff of the county. That's compelling, folks. That's compelling. August 1st through the 5th, 50 to 200 searchers per day. The canines that were there had originally tracked Michael's scent, they said, down the road a bit, and then it evaporated away. The spur road is a dirt road. Anybody drives on it, you can hear them coming, make a lot of sound, blows up dirt. Everyone knows when someone's coming. Nothing. SAR continued, the search and rescue continued to push out from the house because they weren't getting anything. Nobody in the community within 2 miles had seen Michael or Barney anywhere. Now, to me, I'd be scratching my head. If nobody suspicious had driven up that road, and the neighbors said they would have seen it, and nobody had seen Michael and Barney, what happened? After 10 days of searching, the Trinity County Sheriff calls off the search. He says, I don't know where else we're going to look. We've looked everywhere 2 or 3 times. We've had the Coast Guard, helicopter, canines. I don't know what else to do. August 6th, the parents are interviewed by the press again. They clarified that when Stephen went around the corner with the neighbor, Barney was in the front yard with Michael. When they came back, less than 5 minutes later, Barney's gone, Michael's gone. 15 minutes later, Barney comes running back, and he's got bristles, like from weeds and things, in his hair. Well, that does tell me something, folks. It tells me that he didn't stay on a road. He was running cross country through the brush. But why? Sheriff Tom Kelly says he puts no emphasis on the abduction theory still. And at about this time, driving time probably an hour and a half from this location, Dunsmuir PD, Dunsmuir City I've told you about before. I've actually spent many weeks there fishing in the Sacramento River. Saw a woman with a small child that kind of looked Asian, they said. And they stopped her. And she, in their minds, didn't have a good story about who this child was or why the child was with her, and the child couldn't talk. So deputies from Trinity County went down to Dunsmuir to see if it was related, and it wasn't. So they came back. But that was a big headline in one of the day's newspapers. So now you have the parents, or you have hundreds of people around your house for 10 days straight. It's like a whirlwind. You have a lot of support, a lot of people caring, and then boom, everyone's gone. It's just you with your thoughts in your mind and your spouse and Barney. Oh, if only the dog could talk. August 13th. Lily's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Philip Lee of Sacramento, posted a $3,000 reward for Michael. As the sheriff was explaining the reward, he said he's still adamant in the belief that Michael's somewhere in those mountains. Wow. Wow. The next day, August 14th, a Redding couple, remember Redding, it's not that far away, reads about this in the newspaper and offers another $1,000 to the reward bank. So now they're up to $4,000 in the reward. And trust me on this, rewards do things. Rewards get people up in the mountains. If the reward is high enough, I remember this is 1973, a long time ago. Now it would take probably a $25,000 reward to get people really looking in an area for somebody. So, move up a couple months, October 1973. Mr. and Mrs. Hudson had heard about a world-famous psychic in the Netherlands, a man named Gerard Croissant. He was a professor of parapsychology at a university in the Netherlands. And they went there to meet with him. The psychic stated that he saw Michael in that North Fork of the Trinity River dead, and that he's still there. And the psychic went on to explain in detail the location, what it looked like, and said you could go there and still get him. Now, it was during this time, right before they met with the psychic, that the parents were adamant in many articles saying that they believed their son was still alive. They thought somebody had kidnapped Michael. They had no evidence. But let me tell you something. This is truthful now. On cases where a child disappears, parents have to have a mindset that their child is alive. Otherwise, they're physically and mentally destroyed. You have to keep that in your head. There's a chance. And you have to keep telling yourself that. And the Hudsons went to the press and said that many times. We just have a feeling our son is alive. I've heard this hundreds of times from other people. Well, Hudsons fly back from the Netherlands. They go straight to their cabin, and they spent days, with the assistance of the Trinity Sheriff, looking for Michael in the Trinity River. The flow was really low, as it normally is in October. So it was a good time to look through the river. And they walked the river banks for miles. And why did they do that? because they're looking for clothing, some evidence that maybe the water stripped it off, which is normal. Finding clothing on the bank is normal if someone is in the river. They found nothing. Michael was never found in the river. Which makes me always question psychics. I mean, I've dealt with them so many times on missing people where they've never found anybody, ever. There was one remote viewer one time that spouted, a super famous remote viewer that spouted off, oh yeah, he found this missing person, and he named the person and this and that, and said how he found him. Okay. So what did Dave do? I called the victim's wife. I said, hey, do you know this remote viewer, so-and-so? Oh yeah, Dave, I know him. Did he help find your husband? Her words, hell no. He didn't do anything. He's taking credit for what hard work search and rescue did. He wasn't even close on his guess where my husband was. He never went there. He never was close on where he thought he was. He was a complete liar. Just the facts, folks. I'm telling you the truth. So, and I've worked with some of the most famous remote viewers in the world. Just telling you the facts. They tell great stories. I've gone to conferences with them, heard their stories. They're unbelievable. But find me just one missing person they've located. Just one. Well, October through November 1973, after the Hudsons searched the Trinity River, the sheriff made another press release, and he said, you know, if Michael's ever going to be found, it's going to be in the next month because it's hunting season. And the area where the cabin was at gets inundated with people who are hunting. And because hunters go off trail, they crisscross, they go areas nobody else goes. Sheriff thought that there was a decent chance Michael would be found. Needless to say, he was not found during hunting season. Now, oh, that scared me. That scared me. That scared all them too. Would you have a nightmare? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Somebody tap you on the butt or what? So, that was kind of weird timing, wasn't it? Dogs can feel things that humans can't. Now, months and years after Michael disappeared, there were still articles about him never being found. So what I did was I went to the NAMS, N-A-M-U-S. That's a national database for missing people's DNA. I wanted to see what NAMS said about Michael. He's not entered in NAMS. That's very odd. Next, I went to the state of California Missing Persons Directory, sponsored by the Attorney General in the state of California, and there's hundreds of people in there. Michael isn't in there either. Well, that's bothersome. Very bothersome. To date, my organization is responsible for 6 people that were never in NAMS that got into NAMS because we pushed to get them in there. And I thank the investigators that work for NAMS because they worked with me to go get it done. Thank you. There's a couple ladies in there that are absolutely from Texas that are great investigators that did it. Now, I did send an email to the undersheriff of Trinity County, explained who I was, gave him all the details about Michael, all the specific facts, and said, I think maybe you guys should get him into NAMS and get him onto the state of California Missing Persons Directory. And if there's anything I can do to help in that, please let me know. I'm glad to send you all the articles and things I have from our case file. So let's take a step back. Let's think about profile points for a moment. Now, when we say profile points, most of you guys know what that is. First one, point of separation. So Michael is around his dad and the neighbor playing in the front yard. His mom goes in the house. His dad goes around the corner, starts nailing. Point of separation. Dad leaves Michael alone with the dog. Canines. 2 parts to canines. I've stated for many years that when people disappear with dogs, you need to pay attention. Michael disappeared with Barney. Part 2 of the canines. Canines brought to the scene. They couldn't find the scent trail to Michael. That's in 95% of the cases we work. Tracks. No tracks of Michael were ever found leaving the house. Water. Well, there's Barney Gulch right adjacent to them, and then down the street and 5 miles away there's the Trinity River. Now understand something. The psychic said that Michael was in the Trinity River, and that was 5+ miles from the house. That's quite a distance for a 3-year-old boy to travel. Not impossible, but not likely. And then if he had traveled that distance, nobody saw him? Massive search, never found. And he's last seen wearing blue shorts and a red and white striped shirt. What? Remember when I've told you before about people wearing bright colored items when they disappear? It makes no sense, folks. No sense. I did a little background work. Trinity County, like I said, it is not a highly populated county. The sheriff's office has limited resources, but I got to tell you, on this search, I give them a 10 out of 10. And why? Because they did everything I would have done. Normal search, 7 days. They went 10. They put a helicopter in the air. They put multiple canine teams on the ground. They got a ground team from the Coast Guard there. And then they got multiple search and rescue teams from other counties. And they were able to carry on that search in the middle of nowhere for 10 days. Friends, that's effort. The sheriff stating that he did not believe foul play was involved, then I have just one question. I'm sorry, I believe in the effectiveness of dogs and search and rescue teams. 10 days of searching under a grid. They searched the same areas multiple times. I don't believe that they missed Michael. But the most important clue to me is Barney. Barney having bristles and burrs in the hair of his coat, flying through the bush like that, meant to me he was following something else. And Barney would not have left Michael. If Michael had gone in the water, I think Barney would have went in that water with him. Because the water flow in the North Fork wasn't that great then. I think he would have jumped in. Or at least he would have gotten his feet wet. And nobody said the dog was wet. So what in the heck was going on here? Bothers me immensely. And unfortunately, we'll never know. But there is a remote chance, very remote, that somebody may come across a skull in the woods. And without this case being in NABS, I doubt anyone would ever even know about it. I doubt the sheriff of the county even knows about this case today. Because look, it's 50 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But I understand that sheriff's offices have a lot on their hands. They have a lot of important things on their table, and this doesn't have the highest priority. I know that there's other NABS investigators out there watching right now. If there's one from California, I'll give you all my case file if you want to go get this in NABS. Friends, I greatly appreciate you being here. Really. And I'd appreciate you sharing our video on your social media. If you can give a thumbs up, please do. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're getting your notifications. And hang in there with us. Hang in there. Understanding what is happening in these incidents is the #1 issue to me right now. I'm still working hard to try to understand. And the people that keep feeding me comments, I appreciate it. In the meantime, love your family. Be kind to others. Kindness revolution. Being polite, friendly, and kind to others costs nothing. If you are having a mental health problem, get a hold of NAMI, N-A-M-I. They will help you. Paulides out.